Good afternoon and welcome to Dublin City FM. You're listening to LGBTQlife with myself, MickFitz, and today we kick off the Pride season because in about 2.5 weeks' time we will have the culmination, which is the Great Parade that will finish in Smithfield. And I am delighted to welcome to the studio a man who is not singularly responsible, but has a very large responsibility for making all this happen. My good mate, Ediie McGuinnes, who is the manager of Dublin LGBT Pride. So, Ediie, welcome to East Wall and welcome to Dublin City FM.
It's actually really great after all these years of engaging with yourself over the phone for every different event that we do, and especially with the Dublin LGBT plus Pride, we really do want to engage, but to be in the home of your nice radio station.
Yes, and as I say, not only that, but as I'm sure we'll mention during the programme, it's also a very significant area for LGBT heritage and history, isn't it, with just Fairview Park just up the road?
Very much so, and we know that just earlier this year on the 19th of March, we recognised that over 35 years ago that Declan Finn was murdered, and not only that he was murdered, but the judicial system itself actually allowed the individuals off, and the words that came out of his mouth we haven't heard since, but it does show us how society has moved 35 years on. It
does, doesn't it? I mean, that's why this year for Pride, it's very, very significant anniversaries, isn't it? Of course, the 5th anniversary of the tragic murder of Declan Finn, which gave launch to the first Dublin Pride.
And it was, and we also have to take recognition that the women's movement, the union movement, the labour movement, and the individuals helped what we would know then a very small cohort of gay men and women who came together, but actually pushed them to actually protest and say, take hands off us. Yep. And we have to realise that. And if you look 10 years later, on the 24th of June, 93, and my first Pride as well, yes. With the colour, we remember that decriminalisation happened here in Ireland for the first time ever. That one of our senators, Senator David Norris, had to take his own country to the European Court of Human Rights and to actually say that we were actually allowed to be who we are, which is openly gay and lesbian, bi, trans, everything.
Yes, well, when I discussed this with David about 2 or 3 years ago, again for a Pride event, he was saying not only did he have to take his own country to the European Court, but to enable him to do that, he essentially had to get himself declared insane so that he could show how the act was breaching his human rights. So there's a very, very rich history there that younger generations could do very well just to tap into, couldn't they?
I really do think so. I think our younger generations, the millenniums and above, or should below that, have to really engage who and what we are and where our history is. Like, I turned 49 only this weekend. Flattery will get you everywhere. And from that, but for me, I was in my early 20s when I came out, whereas now the generation, in a way, are really lucky that they can now embrace who and what they are, from their sexuality to their gender, to even their orientation of what type they themselves like, but now can do it earlier and recognise that. And I think that's really good about society itself. Yeah. And I actually think the society in Ireland, how it has actually really embraced diversity and inclusion.
Yeah. Well, it's funny you should mention that, because about 10 years ago, would it be about 10? Well, probably 9 years ago or thereabouts, the last year that Pride was at the amphitheatre, and I was with another radio station, and that day we had a float, and we had, we were playing music and all of that. And just as we were walking away from the van over to the amphitheatre, there were 2 younger guys, probably early 20s at the very most, and I eavesdropped a conversation that they were having, and one was saying to the other, why do we have Pride? It's just another party. Now, I explained these things to them, and they never knew at all. And the point I made to them was, never take anything for granted because they can take it away in the morning. How do you feel about that, Ediie?
Well, I did very much. That's an example. Is they can't take it away in the morning, and I'm going to use a simple example. Look at Russia, and where Russia was decriminalised. Homosexuality was decriminalised in '93, the same year as ourselves, and look where they are now. They are deliberately going out and killing, beating everyone.
Camps even, isn't it?
Yes, and they're taking people away from their families, everything, and that's what we are doing this year. We're trying to highlight what families is, no matter what the makeup of your family is. That includes the fact is that you might have a close family at home, maybe not due to your circumstances of coming out, your gender or sexuality, but also you might have friends within the community who become your family. And we've always said that. We have our natural family within the gay community itself.
Absolutely.
And we have a very mixture of individuals, from like top CEOs right down to the shop assistant. Do you know what I mean? And that is the fun about the gay community in general. And I always use the word the gay community, but the gay community I use the word is happy, not just the male side of things. I always try and use the word gay as in happy, smile, and be who you are.
Well, it's very interesting you should say that, Ediie, because I had two people on over the last, say, 6 to 9 months, both legends within the and are stalwarts within the community. One was Martina Malone, who's the heads up the LGBT network at Dublin City Council. The other was Tony Walsh, and both of them we emphasised that Pride started as a protest. Now it's a celebration. But that has come from within the community. It wasn't society said, oh no, you're nice people now, off you go. And that's very, very important, isn't it? That people actually have that self-confidence now.
And I think it's all about confidence. It's all about stepping out. Some years, even when I look back of my first ever Pride, and even when I talk to other young people and people of different ages, is those days of standing on the side of the street and watch these people go by, that they can actually at any point step in. And that is the crucial thing about Dublin Pride. People might say it's commercial, it's this and that. Thing about Dublin Pride is we're now the biggest people parade in the British Isles. So everyone who can who looks on at the side of our parade no longer have to look on. They can step in whenever they are ready, and that is something that we really should embrace. Step in when you are ready to become who you truly are.
Well, it's very interesting you should say that, Ediie, because a couple of people have been going on about the parade route. Now, I remember, I think it was about 97 or 98, and you walk down O'Connell Street on Saturday afternoon. The parade was sparse then compared to now. Now, we've outgrown that. But two of the things that struck me that particular day, I remember walking past, and I was with with the drag queens, and I saw on the pavement a man who I knew was a city councillor, a young man, and I knew he was LGBT. And I thought, why are you not with us? You're standing there. And we know why, because that's the way society was at the time. And then there was another man, a very senior politician, and he was handing a left-wing politician, I won't go up and go with now, and he was handing out these leaflets, but then he'd jump into the parade and hand out, and then he would jump back onto the pavement, and I thought, oh mate, these days have gone, haven't they? Last year we had a Taoiseach for the first time ever. Wasn't it amazing?
Absolutely amazing. When last year when I engaged with the Taoiseach's office, they just went, okay, let's try and make this happen. And not only that, is that morning is to for myself as Pride manager, and also Clodagh Leonard, our chair, to actually step up, both of us, and engage with the Taoiseach. The first, no matter what his sexuality is or gender or orientation, is our Taoiseach of our country decided to walk in our parade. Not only that, is you look, if a month or so later he asked us and embraced with us, said, what else can I do? And I said, the best thing you can do now is walk in Belfast, because we have to collectively together help them get the equal rights up there for around same-sex marriage and other issues that they still have, because they live in that society up there. But not only that, is he decided, yes, I'll pop up there, but to walk along and just talk to him one-on-one at that nice, amazing level was really amazing. And then he walked with his partner in St. Patrick's Day like refusing before, no, we're not walking because you have banned the gays, LGBT from your parade, but now you haven't, we will actually embrace that. And I think that it sells
huge,
a lot more. It says amazingly what more. And he stood on that stage and promised us to try and get our LGBT rights in order and help internationally get their rights in order.
Yeah, well, we were both obviously at the launch last week, and what struck me, I mean, when I was recording it, and you know, you don't quite take it in at the time, but when I was looking back at the videos, it struck me, this is one of the biggest launches I have ever been, but even more so when I looked at it, it was also showed how diverse the community has become. It was young, it was old, it was black, it was white, it was men, it was women, it was Jews, it was Muslims, it was everything. It was fabulous, wasn't it?
It was absolutely amazing, and to be part of that
Yeah.
is absolutely amazing. Like on a personal journey, as I've developed, even doing different things over the years, and I've always worked. My company is a PR marketing company, an events company, and we've always been openly LGBT. No matter what we do, we are open about it. But to be involved in what we call the second biggest festival in Ireland, other than St. Patrick's Day, all that involvement has been absolutely amazing. But to stand there at the only this week to launch our program has been amazing. To see all those different individuals from different backgrounds, different sources, but also one of the key elements I've always said is we have the likes of our sponsors. We can't do this without anyone, no matter what anyone says. But our biggest sponsor is our local government, which is Dublin City Council. And right back in the days, and I remember being chair of events and PR for Pride, giving my time off free. Turn around is they were giving us $5,000, $10,000 and so forth. And this year, it has given us literally over 60,000 plus to the Pride, because people do have to realise is it costs over $250,000 to put off Pride now, and we need to find those sources, and those sources has come in from the commercial element, some people would say, but it's not just the commercial element, it's the LGBT section of each one of those businesses. And if you take example of Tesco dipped their toe in last year, and this year jumped on board and our platinum sponsor, and that has been absolutely amazing for them. But their push is not about welcoming all their customers, the different customers they have, but it's internally, and this is where people have to now realise, it's internally within the workforce to be inclusive and diverse within your workforce. And there's already reports out there that show that most people, when they realise is, if you are comfortable where you are, who you are, and you can bring your whole self to work, you become a better employee, and that becomes your secondary family. Because 9 out of 10 times, family life at home mightn't be good because of who and what you are, but whereas you can walk in and be who you are fully in work, and I think that's absolutely amazing. And I know their tagline is bursting with pride, but it is. I get warm when I'm sitting talking with them and go, how can we move? How can we do this better? How can we do that? An example is 5,000 bottles of water will be given free to everyone. Do you know what I mean? That's one simple gesture and more, and that's what they do. And I think that's collectively what all the different companies can do. And we can talk about these when it does come from diversity and inclusion within workforce. We've had companies who've approached and gone, we want to jump on the bandwagon of Pride, but we've stopped them because we've asked them, have you a diversity and inclusion program within your company? And if you don't, we will help put that in place, but not only that, we'll take our time doing that over the next couple of years. So in return, we're reaching out to what we say is the protesters, the activists, everything for equality. We're now doing the job of that equality within the workplace itself.
Sure. One of the things, and again, this is more on a personal note, when I went to the launch last year, I think it was 6 years ago with this. Now it's probably 7 years ago now, thereabouts. I first met the chair of the now chair of Pride, which is Clodagh Leonard. And I believe I was the first person to ever put Clodagh on the radio, and just to see her on Thursday, how that woman has blossomed. But a point she makes, and it's very interesting, is that when she came up from Mayo, probably about 2012, when she saw the Pride flags along the quays, she felt welcome. And that's this year we're even going one step further, because we're going to have the Pride flag on City Hall. That's huge. This is the first, isn't it?
It is the first, and again, part of my role is I reached out to Dublin City Council and Chris, what to call it, from Sinn Féin, what to call it, one of the councillors. I asked him outright. I said, "What is the procedure to, and how can we do this?" And he said, "Leave it with me." And he reached out to all the other members from different parties. Says, "This is what we need to do." So it's the first time ever the Pride flag has been flown from City Hall, and not only that, it's the first alternative flag other than the Palestinian flag, which is going to be flown from City Hall ever. And I think that is absolutely amazing.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting one, because you mentioned the Palestinian flag. When that issue came up and it was controversial, I took it to a Sinn Féin councillor, Crean Dálig, and I was saying, why don't you fly the flag, the LGBT flag? And she, as I say, she took on board the idea. So the fact that it's happening now, I think, is really big in itself. So it'd be great to see, and that's as I say, it shows what a cosmopolitan city Dublin really is now, isn't it?
Oh, it's amazing. I'll give you an example. Last year we doubled the amount of rainbow flags along the river. Okay, Dublin City Council came on board with us and really did that. By doing so, also is I took a little video of one of the guys, the workers. I said, "Can I take? Do you mind if take a photograph of this and a little video of you doing this?" And he says, "No problem." He says, "Anytime I'm putting up the rainbow flag," this was his words, he says, "I get more photographs and more videos taken of me doing it." He says, "I put up flags week in and week out along the whole river, but when he puts on that LGBT flag or the rainbow flag, he says it just shines, instantly shines, and the people smile as he's doing it." And we put that up, and within 1 to 2 days we had something like over 150,000 views of that little video worldwide. That screams amazing for a city of this size.
Absolutely. No, I always, even when I go through town, I always take photographs, send them around the world so that people will know this is who we are. Yeah. But moving on, Ediie, the other bit I think we would both take great delight in, and an enormous amount of pride as well, this year's Grand Marshal, our mutual friend Sarah Phillips. What a great person to represent Pride.
Absolutely amazing. And I'll actually just say, not only Sarah, but also Clodagh, when you started talking about Clodagh, I smile when I see both of those. They are an amazing ladies, and they have their, not just intellectually, but that warmth within themselves that just instantly shine, because they want to better, not for themselves, but better for everyone else around them. And I think that is the crucial thing about Pride. It allows people to shine where they never get a chance to shine, and it does really good. And we know each other for how many years at this stage, but not only that, is you have all these individuals who can step in and out and become them. But Sarah is absolutely amazing, and what she has done for Tenny has been brilliant. But it's great. Diversity of our family this year.
Absolutely. Well, I remember I walked with Tenny in the 2012, and Tenny weren't really that well known at that stage, and we were one of the noisiest groups. The following year, Tenny led the parade, and as a result, I think Tenny were in the vanguard of social change in this country, because suddenly trans was very much part of the community, and not only that, if you have a look with both Clodagh and Sarah, the positive contributions, and and I have to include people like Broden as well. The positive contributions were extraordinary, and the energy they generated was remarkable.
Their natural energy is it just screams from the highest. But also, I think as development, we take example going back right on 35 years ago after Declan Finn. We have to realise from then onwards is. The women's movement along with the gay movement came together and developed, but they were all the early stages of equality out there. And then people say, oh, what about the bis, what about trans? Trans is now at the forefront of diversity within itself, and it's evolving even within itself, and it's learning within itself, because we had to do it within our gay and lesbians, because you know yourself, Mick, sometimes the lesbian community and the gay community never got on.
Yeah,
but they had to come together and go, what about this? And the one part about that we see is, which most people will see this year, is if you go to see the dramatisation of A Day in May.
That's exactly right.
In the Olympia on the 24th and 25th, that is the world premiere of that. But I sat down at a reading of it only a couple of weeks back. They're gone into production today, okay? And from that I was sitting in the corner with tears in my eyes, listening to the different sides debate, even within our own community. It's never been smooth. But what about this side? What about that way to do this? And what about that way? No, that's too abrupt. That's too loud. This is too soft. But at the end of the day, we can't settle for just civil partnership. We want full marriage and what marriage meant. And that's it. It's really to see within that play. But these are the voices of individuals taken from Charlie Bird's book, A Day in May. And we see the development of individual stories from the early 70s right up to date. And I think that is a crucial thing. And one thing that Charlie always wanted to do was his book to be a legacy that will go into schools, will go into libraries, that people can sit and read and see the stories of Irish people, nowhere else in the world, Irish people's journeys going through all that. And I think that's absolutely amazing what's going to happen there.
A people's history, as we say.
Oh, people's history. And I think it's people's voice, the same way as Pride is the biggest people's parade.
Yeah. So just for anybody's information, that's going to take place 2 weeks on Sunday the 24th, and then the following day as well. It's for 2 days only, and all the proceeds, or at least are going to Pieta House, which I think is incredibly important as well.
Yes, because Pieta House work alongside Belong To, and it's the first time that Pieta House has actually developed a program for an external group, and that's how they want to actually develop it. And actually it's implemented by LGBT plus youth organisation, and the biggest in the country, and that's been absolutely amazing what they can actually do. And they got an extra boost actually this week, Belong To have, because of our connection with Tesco's all their t-shirts in the stores, all the money, not a percentage of it, all the money from that you buy a t-shirt there goes straight to Belong To.
Excellent.
And I think that is what you call commercialism and activism coming together and showing we can collectively work together.
Now, there's a significant change this year, Ediie, and I'm delighted that the way it's going to happen. Previously, what we did, we would march to wherever it was, the amphitheatre, or we would march to Merrion Square, and then you'd have a bit of entertainment and you'd have the community addresses. This year it's going to be the community addresses first. Am I correct about that?
Oh, you're very much correct about this. This is where we want people to start celebrating from 12 o'clock.
Sure.
Before 12 o'clock, especially if you're part of groups, if you're part of who's going to be in the parade. Years ago, we have to realise is that years ago people would just arrive, lastminute.com. Here, all the gays would like it. I don't know what the lesbians, but I know as a gay man, it's like a drama, what am I wearing, this, that and the other. Me glitter is none. Right, so that's a bit of fun, but we're going to be starting early. So what will happen is that all our floats will get into place pre 9:30 in the morning. Registration for your groups will then start from 10:30 to 11:30, and at 12 o'clock onwards we will have music and speeches. And what I call it's the rally cry. Exactly. It's taken what the basis of the parade is all about, but rallying us to actually go through and march through the heart of the city. And the Liberties is the heart of the city. No matter what anyone says, it's where our city actually developed and came from, and that's what's absolutely amazing. But not only that is, we have some key speakers from not only here in Ireland but around the world. We have the likes of Peter Tatchell and other speakers, to come and actually speak to the crowd themselves. And of course that allows us to rally, enjoy ourselves. Like last year we worked out that we had something like 25,000 people in Stephen's Green South, in that big area. Now we're taking over Elsford Terrace as well, so it's even bigger again. And then we're going to be taking off, and we must realise is that we all have to be ready in our best frocks and best everything else and colour, i.e. let the rainbow shine that day.
Absolutely.
And we're going to then take off, be ready for 1:30, but our starting time is 2, but we're saying we have to be ready for 1:30 due to the masses and the numbers, and we head on towards Smithfield. But people must we want people to come out, march along those streets, take colour. If you have an apartment along, even better. Hang a flag outside your balcony or window, everything. I know that the crew or the residents in the Ivy Trust,
they were there last year.
They did last year, and it was a great honour because I lived there, and we actually they hung out which got something like 100 flags out the windows, everything. So that's amazing.
Yeah. Now the other bit as well, Ediie, before we close up, something I know that you're very keen to share with people. Last year, I think you had 350 thereabouts volunteers. This year, I think you're going to need probably twice as many. Talk to the people. What do you need there?
We need people, no matter what your ability, but what we want to do and where you come from. Come and embrace and just literally volunteer. We'll have a link up on the website later this evening for people to actually register to become volunteers, and by doing so that will allow us to then reach out to you. And also we have our new pop-up shop.
That's right.
Yes. We have our new pop-up shop on 41 Clarendon Street. That's the back door of the Westbury Hotel, but also beside the nice gym next door, and the dress shop. So it's really good, and you can't miss us because we've had a company that actually decided to dress the whole shop up free of charge, and we have Fink, the street artist at the moment, doing a mural inside, and come and see that in the next couple of days.
And if you really want some out there costumes, it's just across the road from Miss Fantasia.
Oh, that's it. But we have all the Pride merchandise, so you need bunting, you need flags, everything, and every bit of that money goes back into Pride, and that's the whole thing. And that's compliment. We work very well with Carol's, the gift store, who actually help us implement that.
Now, I just don't want people to think it's only the one day, although it is the 30th, is the parade. You've got a fabulous brochure which will tell you a load of events. Where might people just be able to get that, Ediie?
All that, you can actually get it throughout the whole city, because we've teamed up with GCN for the first time this year, and they've distributed it right across the city, but also in libraries and coffee shops, everything. But most importantly, you can find it online, and I know already something like 65,000 have read the programme to cover online. So that's not bad going so far, and that is dublinpride.ie.
Ediie McGuinnes, it is always a delight to have you as a guest. Pride is going to be 30th, the big day is the 30th of June. I want to say thank you to Aisling for doing such a fabulous job on the desk.